tell you a quick story. So just like Zach was like a previous customer, like before we actually met, but he didn't know who I was until he met me. Carlos was actually buying leads from me before we met, obviously, but he knew who I was, so a little different. But so I was in Miami. Remember dbank.com yesterday? I brought that website up. So they had the event, and I spoke at the event. And so while we were down in Miami, I said to Carlos, hey, we're down here, want to meet up? So he brings a whole box of cigars. I'm like, all right, cool, I like this guy. So we're hanging out, we're just talking about whatever. So Carlos, so we started talking about like the lead business in general. And you know, it's something that, you know, basically you never really did on a large scale, he said. Yeah. But you know, he was already in commercial cash advance, he's already doing e-commerce, I mean, he's already doing stuff before the day I know. And what happened was, he came to the first event, so that was January. In March he came to the first event, and I really noticed, like Zach said before, like, you know, Zach got everything when I was talking about it, showing things, and you can tell Carlos, they're actually the only two people that stood up and walked to the front when I showed that, well, at that point in time, it was probably...
Hey, and I remember what Carlos said, which is hilarious. He goes, I think there's a lot of money in that report because it's taking so long to load. Remember that? I remember that. Because it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning.
So those two just got it, and it's not surprising that, like, you know, 2 years later, those two are here. You know what I mean? Like, it's not surprising when you see certain things happening in the progression. But anyway, so just, if you want to just, you know, take as much time as you want here, explain from that day, you know, what you got into to today, like where you're at.
Yeah. So that day, a light bulb went off about brokering leads, right? So never before I brokered, you know, a lead before, right? And you're telling me, you know, I generate these leads and I do this, and I previously bought leads from you, and we were doing MCA, and that was going pretty well. But then I'm like, hey, I can just buy leads from you and then sell them and then keep the margin, and that's my profit. So I went back home and I put together a Shopify website, which is pretty simple. And then I grabbed my leads and I put it up there and then, you know, mark it up. And then I started ordering from you quite often, and then sending leads.
Well, what happened was he was the first person that ever did the lead business with me that actually created an e-commerce site around it.
Yeah.
I was like, huh, that's interesting,
yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden, just getting emails, like, because Carl's one of those people that he'll put the effort in, but he just really doesn't want to put that much effort into it. So if he can figure out a way to automate it or not have to get off his ass, do it. He'll do it, right? So he's the only person ever where I'm getting automated orders from somebody, and not only that, they're like coming in like all day long. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing, right? So it was cool for me, right? But so yeah, so
I
was a trend.
Yeah, so I put in the Shopify website, which is mcaleadgen.com, right? So I went in, I bought the domain, put the website. I know Google pretty well, so I started bidding on keywords, right, like MCA leads, you know, business loan leads and stuff like that. Then people started contacting me, and I was like, everything is done through the website. So if you want to buy leads, you just go in the website and buy leads, and then give me 24 to 72 hours, and I'll fulfill your order. And then orders started coming in, and started coming in, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. So I called Phil, and I was like, listen, so how about I just send you the orders, and then you send them to the client, and then that way, you know, cut me out of the picture, so I don't have to do the back and forth, like, where's my leads, and blah, blah, blah. So we did that, and that started doing pretty well. And the MCA side of things started doing, you know, well, but you got to get on the phone and got to work those deals. And I was like, that's not really for me. I just want to do the lead gen, and I started doing that. Then I jumped into pay-per-call, right, which is what I do now. And pay-per-call is pretty much when you charge the advertiser, the person buying the calls, you charge them for the phone call that you generate for them. And that was, you know, I'm like, whew, this is the holy grail. There's nothing to stock, there's nothing to ship, you know, it's pretty much just cash. And that's how I started doing pay-per-call. I went after home services, and I started selling them phone calls. So I saw a big potential at the time in Craigslist. So what I started doing was I started posting in Craigslist different ads for home services. So I concentrated in the plumbing industry, and whenever I found a plumber, I was like, hey, I'll send you calls, and then I reach out to other networks that will buy the calls that I was generating up from different areas that I didn't have a contractor. Some areas that I didn't have a direct buyer, so I would sell that calls to the network, kind of like my overflow. And that started doing pretty good. Started advertising in Google more heavily, in Facebook as well, and venture into other verticals. So after that, I went to insurance, started doing a lot of insurance, under 65 Medicaid, final expense, and I was like, credit repair is something that I can do pretty easy. So I bought a bunch of these credit repair from you as well. Started doing credit repair, and now I'm doing a lot of travel booking, a lot of flight booking. The beauty about the business is everything is automated, which is kind of what I like, right? So it's just mastering creating the ads. And once you create the ads, people are going to call, and those calls are routed automatically to your different buyers, and you're just constantly making money 24/7. And created a course in pay-per-call, have a bunch of students that are doing pretty well. So there's some of them that don't do anything, and obviously they don't get results, and other ones are, are making a lot of money. So Dustin Lambert made 23 grand for me last week.
That's
Whoa. Yeah.
He made it for you or for himself?
For himself.
For himself.
But I buy all his calls.
Yeah.
So now every time he calls me, he goes like, "This is amazing." I set up this campaign, and then this is amazing. So I joke with him all the time. I was like, "Hey, I'm sending you enough money to buy a Honda Civic." Right? And he goes like, "No, I want a Lambo." I'm like, "Well, just take it up, So yeah, so I tell him, "Hey, I gotta send you enough money for a Honda Civic." So we started doing that. So what I figured, or not what I figured, but what I noticed is that a lot of people will not understand what I was talking about, right? And obviously they didn't know how to set up a campaign properly. So I was like, look, I'll create the campaign for you as long as you sell the calls to me. And I'm gonna be very generous. I'm gonna pay you just as much as the next guy's gonna pay you, but I'll pay you faster. I'll set up the campaign for you. I'll set up everything for you, and then you just run it. And that's what I've been doing. So we set up an account not too long ago with Phil as well, and with other people that want to jump into the business. Because think about it, you're generating a phone call, and a phone call is extremely valuable for somebody, for a business that can benefit from calls, right? So think about home service contractors like plumbers, roofers, carpet cleaning, you name it, and then other service providers like insurance, Medicare, final expense, also service industries like travel. All of those can benefit from phone calls, and all you have to do is set up digital assets, which are landing pages, websites. You send the traffic to the website, they call that phone number. So I use a system called Ringbot, that's RINGBA.com. And what it does is it will automatically route the calls to the different buyers that I have. And it runs 24/7 without any manual supervision. So I spend very little time every morning just making sure my campaigns are running and stuff like that. Then everything else after that is an autopilot. No, go ahead.
Okay, so you're making money by paying these clients that pay you money for these calls.
Correct.
And they're lead-based, lead-based?
Lead-based, everything is lead-based.
Okay.
So
leads, even if they don't convert or not, if they get a lead, it goes like that?
no, we set up what is called a buffer.
Okay.
So when a call comes in, depending on the campaign, you will give them it's usually, you have a difference, right? But it's usually a raw call, and a raw call means that you get paid as soon as the phone connects, right? Usually pays you a small amount of money. And then you have duration, which can be either 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, 200, whatever might be the case. The higher the duration, the more that the call is worth, right? So if I'm sending you a call on a 2-minute duration, 120 second, obviously that's going to be more costly than sending you a call on a 60-second duration, right? Because you have more time to pre-qualify that.
What is the average on, you know, with these leads per word?
It depends on the vertical. So,
On the plumber business, let us say.
on the plumber business, a phone call can be worth anywhere from $25 to $130
Really?
for one phone call. So that is on the plumbing side, right? But you also have, it means also where the client is located. Like a phone call is not worth the same here in Florida than it's worth in California or Las Vegas or Seattle, right? So they have different prices. So what you want to do is you want to build your own network of buyers, and then you will send the call to them if it matches their zip codes that they cover. And then if it doesn't, you will send that call to a network that has a much larger buyer pool, and then they will monetize it and you will still get paid. But it depends, like I said, it depends on the vertical. Some verticals, like plumbing, could be like that. And then you have other verticals like motor vehicle accidents. And those calls in California, they can go for as much as $800 a phone call. Water damage, which I do a lot of water damage as well, they go anywhere from like $300 to $600 a phone call. Now, the higher the price of the call means the harder that it is to generate that phone call. So it's not the
So
same
you have to pay a little bit more money to generate that phone call.
Correct. So it's not the same thing generating a towing call, right? Or a plumbing call than it is generating a motor vehicle accident or a rehab.
And are you vetting these calls before you finish them?
No, they vet it, yeah, they vet it. I don't talk to any of the callers myself.
Right. Well, I mean, like automated vetting.
That's what the buffer is for.
That's what the buffer is for.
Pre-call,
Yeah.
ask them whatever questions that they need. And
Yeah, they usually will ask them questions. So ideally, you want to work either with independent contractors, if you're going the contractor route, or you want to work with call centers. Because the call center, they actually know what they're doing, this is their business. So you can send them to them. I mean, I don't know if I can connect my phone with this and show some.
Your phone?
Yeah. No?
Maybe that's the new shit, I don't know about.
I just,
You can't, it's an old TV call. You can't do it on caster.
I can get my laptop.
So Carlos,
No, like it's a
you're building these out.
buffer, so like.
Right now, you're building out. You have like a turnkey type of thing that you're building out right now, or
Has 60 seconds to
The building
pre-qualify the
that-
lead.
do you have a turnkey?
How much revenue do you?
Like you're building these sites or this platform
What's the
out?
credit score?
Yeah.
Pre-qualified. when they-
For
So what do you guys
Tell
are
them
looking at for people?
How long
Yeah,
they
yeah.
need for a pre-qual.
Okay, that's what we're asking.
so I'm doing a case study now.
You're doing what?
I'm doing
No,
a
you
case
run the
study
campaign
now
with
with
Mr.
different people.
I'll be a case study.
Yeah.
Want to say anything?
So what I'm doing now is actually I'm in the middle of it. I'm doing a case study with 5 different individuals where I'm putting my money. So I'm putting $20,000 for each one out of my own money, building the campaign, right? So at the end of 30 days, we can show the results. So that I'm updating my own course and paper call and stuff like that, and I want to include some of those results into it of how much you can generate in paper call. And I mean, it's an extremely profitable
So
business.
for like that 20,000, what do you anticipate that return?
I am anticipating anywhere from 30 to 40.
30 to 40
Yeah,
on
thousand.
top of the. So
No, so 20, so I'm looking to double the money.
Okay.
Yeah,
In 1 month.
in 30 days. Yeah.
So
You run your campaigns by a time frame, right?
Yeah,
and that's the campaign you're talking about, building out and the ad spend.
yeah, correct. I'm building out a campaign and I'm putting my own credit card. Yeah.
So you work with the buyer and say, okay, I'm gonna set up these calls that come into you from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
Do you have someone who can answer the process and then take the calls?
Correct.
So you square that away, because you don't want calls not
Yeah,
getting
no,
answered.
and I charge them, if they don't answer the phone call, I charge them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I could have sold the call to another person.
Right.
So if you don't answer the phone call, I'm still charging you for it.
But you square that up,
So just do
beginning,
whatever you need.
so it's the deal.
Oh, okay.
That's cool. That's cool.
Very cool.
So yeah, so how many calls you do? Last month or whatever? Last month?
So the last 3 months, I'll show you.
So basically, it's always like, I'm doing a ridiculous amount, right? So, like, all right, like, why don't we, cause, you know, I have my own lead gen stuff that we do, and obviously he's doing it lead gen in just a different way. So I'm like, well, why don't we do, you know, a case study, let's set it up, and then we'll just combine what I'm doing and what you're doing, and we'll just do it together. You know, it just makes my life easier to have someone else to do it with. And so that's what we literally just started doing last week. We just started getting it up and running. Actually, not even last week, was it Sunday?
Yeah, you did.
So what happened was, so him and Alex got together and they started putting a campaign out, and they just spent like $280 like the first day or whatever, and it made like $100 profit, just like that. So now obviously the goal is to take that $280 a day and turn it to $5,000 a day, and, you know, just let it run, right? So anyway, it's just you know, since he was nice enough to come up here, figured we talked about lead gen yesterday, and showing you a different way of doing lead gen at the end of the day, just kind of giving you different options and stuff that you guys can make money with in this world. So
I don't know my own passwords.
me neither.
Give me a second.
So that company Ring Buddy he's talking about, so he gave me a sweatshirt or like, you know, zip up one day. I don't know where we were. Was it Vegas or something? And so I usually don't wear those. So my wife took it and she, you know, wears them all the time. Every time I look at her with it on, I think of Carlos. Burn that fucking thing.
It's true, he pushes the ring bus so hard. I
She loves it. She's like, this thing's so comfortable. I'm thinking of Carlos, the big teddy bear.
Yeah. That's funny.
No.
Oh, now how I control it. There you go.
Look at that.
Well, this one's.
So, this is being live streamed, right?
It is.
Oh, man. All right.
No, it's just to like 10 people.
Yeah.
So this is how many calls are live right now. And this is how many calls I have completed in the day. And this is the amount of revenue per hour so far today, right? And these are my buyers, how many calls are live with each different buyers. And so I can break this down to live calls that are going on, and then also to how many calls are going on per time frame. So I would say like from that's December, right?
Yep.
So right, so December. Okay, so from December 1st to January 1st is 1 month, right?
Yeah.
I'm bad at this. So let's do November. So let's do 3 months. So from November 1st to February 1st is 3 months, right?
Yeah.
All
You
right.
got it, Carlos.
If he can do it, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, you beat me to it.
I usually do.
That's not what she said.
But she did say it. Hey.
You guys are disgusting.
All right.
So these are the profits per day. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Days.
Right. So wait.
No, we can't see that.
You can't see that, we buy it now.
Yeah. There's gotta be a lot of money in there somewhere. Yeah. We can't see the calls. What does it say?
So it's the
So yeah, so that's $748,000. That's the amount of minute that I talked. My conversion rate was 32.83, and my ring bill was 30 grand.
That's why I got a free ring bush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the amount that it was generated, which is 814,000. This is how much I paid to some of my, publishers. That's 66 grand, and then 748,000.
And what you made in those 3 months?
That was 3 months, correct. And then you can see here, the amount of money per day. So February, so about 15, about 10, whatever, about 10 grand a day, give or take, doing paper call.
So does the ring bar, what?
No, Shabri just looked at me.
Oh, does the ring bar, does it pay itself before it pays you?
You have to pay Ringba, so you have to add a credit card to Ringba, and Ringba will charge you for the usage.
Okay,
So for whatever amount of minutes, the reason why my bill is so big is because of the amount of hours. It was a little bit, I don't even know what that is, but there was a lot of hours that.
Yeah, but your bill, you're showing your bill,
11,000 minutes.
your bill was 30 something thousand?
1,000 hours.
that's 3 months, that's for
3 months. So your bill was only 30 plus thousand, you made.
Well, do 30,000 divided by 11,000 hours, and then,
No, I was just wondering if it paid itself before it paid you.
no, they just bill him.
No, they bill me,
Ring is not getting paid by the customer, he gets paid by the customer. He just it's like paying Verizon for your cell phone.
Oh, okay, so it's
Ringba thinks I'm
it's
their
just a
sugar
tool.
daddy. This swiping my card.
What's the ad spend?
Ad spend, that was about, I would say it was close to 400,000,
So still a lot there.
but a little bit less than 400.
Yeah, so 400 all in, give or take, to make,
Yeah.
whatever that is on
To
the
double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you require deposits from your buyers to make sure?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's your typical, do they front you, so, because you don't get stiffed in the back end, right?
Yeah, so usually, depending on the buyer, it'll be like either 10,000 to 100,000 plus, depending on their commitment level, right? So you have some buyers that they want to buy all your future calls. Think about it like MCA, right? You're buying the future receivables, right? So they want to buy all the future calls that you're going to generate, so they will prepay you, so you don't sell that calls to a competitor, right?
And that's a selling point when you're talking to the buyer.
I tell them, I'm like, hey, I sell my calls to the highest bidder.
So Carlos, you
Unless you
telling me,
pay me now. So.
Carlos, you telling me I should start charging Zach for my future leads?
Yeah. You should.
Exactly, okay.
When you say they don't answer the phone, you charge them.
Excuse me?
What do you mean when you say when they don't answer the phone, you charge them? What is that, what do you mean by that?
So if I send you a call and you let it go to voicemail or you don't answer the
It's a
phone,
wasted call.
I'm going to charge you for that call because I could have sold that call to somebody else.
Okay, and they keep tracking that for you when they don't answer?
Yeah, of course. So they would say missed call, so I would be like, hey, you didn't answer the phone, buddy. So at first, they're gonna, like the first few times that it happens to them, they're gonna be really upset. And then after that, they're not gonna let any calls take a voicemail. So you just gotta train them.
How much you charge them for this call?
The same price. The same price as if they would have answered the call.
But you get the buyers pretty automated as well? So like finding the buyers for this?
So the buyers, they'll go to my website.
Yeah, I was looking on the site.
So what I do is that on Google.
So that's how you're getting, so it's pretty automated, you're not going out and trying to find buyers?
No, it's just, on Google, I run campaigns and they will go to my website, they will contact me, and then I'll,
So you still have to do a sales process to kind of close the buyer?
Yeah, that's why I'm hiring people to do the sales process for me.
Right.
But I like talking to them because I'm pretty straightforward type of guy, so. Say, hey, this is what it is, if you like it, great, if you don't, either way it's great.
So this is Carlos before he got married and had a kid.
That's funny,
Phil.
So, this is how it works. You select your industry, your target location, initial budget, start receiving calls, renew your budget, and then this is some of the industries that I'm in. And then here's some, selling points of me against traditional marketing, like you pay per lead. You pay the set and agreed price only for phone calls looking for products or services, and so on. So that's how the whole work is going. So they just go to the website and then they'll contact me. I turn a lot of buyers away because I'm not a good fit for them, but the ones that are, then, take them to Lincoln Road and stuff.
How do you determine? How do you determine whether you're a good fit?
Well, not to sound greedy or anything, but first I have to have a budget, right? And I like to work with people that are more than a one-person company. Like I'm the only one, right? I'm the only one person, and so like if I, for example, like credit repairs, I turn a lot of those buyers away because it's only one person doing it, and the problem is that it's really hard for me to scale it if only one person is answering the phone, right? So I can only send you one phone call at a time, and usually a credit repair call will take like 30, 40 minutes, right? So that means that at the max, I'm gonna be able to send you like 10 calls a day,
Right.
and it's not really gonna work out,
Right.
right? But if they have a call center, that's a different story. We look at concurrency rate, so how many concurrent calls can it handle at the same time? So usually call centers can do a lot more. With the exception of home services, right? Because home services are plumbers, it's usually a plumber, there's no way around it, unless you're working with a franchise that has a call center answering calls. But, those I'll take all day. But that's something that I look for to determine if we're a good fit or not.
So if it's a plumber, you would take, or a contractor, you would take them if they're a small operation.
Yes, most of them are, yeah.
Why is that, what's the reason? Because they can make appointments or?
Yeah, they make appointments, and the call duration is a lot shorter.
Okay, got it.
So like a plumbing call usually will go for around 10 minutes max. Like, hey, what's your problem? Oh, I have this and that. Okay, I can be there tomorrow. What's your address? Boom, boom. All right, so I'll be there at 8. Boom, done. But if it's a credit repair, oh man, those calls go on forever.
Right.
Or insurance or something like that.
Okay.
If I know it's going to be a short call, then yeah, no problem.
And what you said before, what was for like a plumbing call, what's the average price that you get from each call?
$25 to $130. $130 would be like California, Seattle. They go a lot higher than that.
And do you come up with that price based on what you assume they're gonna make from the deal, or how do you?
Based on demand, right? And based on property value of that location.
Yeah, but I got, go ahead, Billy, you know? I just think, what Gil is saying is if you're charging someone $100, let's say $125 for that phone call, what if the plumbing job is only, the plumber's only getting $100 from that?
A plumber getting $100?
Well, I don't know.
They get $100
Listen, I had a plumber in my house the other day, actually, and it was, just to check it out, I'd be charging $60, but it was nothing. You
When's the
walked
last
in
time you
and
had your
walked
house?
out. What?
Check on your house, then.
Bob does not count as a plumber, man.
Oh, okay. Oh, then forget it.
No, usually they make their,
Yeah, I'm getting it.
but it depends on the location. Like if you're
Right.
generating calls in, I don't know, like California, for example, right? Like Newport Beach or Orange County, stuff like that. They're gonna go for a lot more than generating in, I don't know, like Little Rock, Arkansas.
Right.
Because you go based on the value.
It's typically industry averages though, or something
Yeah.
like that, and you can kind of figure it out. But yeah, they have to make a profit, right? So,
Right.
there's gonna be those averages, like I give you 100 calls, you're gonna close X, they average so much per, it's a plumber, per service, whatever, right? So it's all kind of figured out once you start learning the industry.
Play with the math yourself,
Yeah.
or is it like?
And listen, if he knows he's gonna, I have better leads. For me, like virtual cash advance, I charge more than the average person, because I know that the leads are gonna be better. That's the way I've always been. Like I'll sell my age leads at a premium, which is $1, but that's a premium for an age lead. But I know if you work the lead, you're gonna make money. So I would rather sell it for $1, right, instead of finding 2 people for 50 cents. You know what I mean? So I'd rather sell a little higher and find a good buyer that can actually close it. So, do you see when I sell Forbes and I deal with buyers, I've learned that a lot of companies can't sell their own product.
Yeah.
Have you seen that too?
Yeah, all the time.
It's amazing how companies can't sell that stuff.
Yeah, it's like going to take measures,
I
so
can't
it's out.
do
Right.
Well, they're just company salespeople.
Well,
No,
here's the thing.
people are good at what they do, they're not good salespeople.
Talking about plumbing, right? It's very different if you get a phone call of, hey, my bathroom is clogged, I need somebody here, and you know, the kid put a toy in the toilet and it's clogged, then my main sewer line is broken, right? That job will pay for a whole bunch of calls, right? So, you know, it really depends on the type of call. You're playing if every single call is a repair call, like, you know, like my water heater broke, boom, it's a new water heater, right? Or, you know, the sewer line is backed out, or, you know, those jobs are really expensive. Like, if you have to replace your main sewer line, it's talking about thousands of dollars. So it averages out for them. Usually, they will close about 70% of the phone calls. Because when you're calling a plumber,
You got a problem.
You got a problem.
You got a fun. You got to price down insurance.
Plus, they all charge a service charge too.
they started, yeah. And usually, I see it a lot that people call to, you know, compare prices. But most of the time, they just want to see, you know, how fast can you be here, right? If
I
there's
don't have
water
that
over your house and stuff,
Yeah.
you want the next guy here.
Yep.
When you build your campaign, do you have like a call extension, or you always bring them to the website?
So I try to do both. The thing is that when I bring them to the website, I use what is called a number pool, which is a JavaScript tag in the website that gives me a lot of information about a specific caller,
Yeah.
right? So, and you know, it can be pretty scary type of information that you get. So I like bringing them to the website because of that.
Then it takes that
So
information.
I'm gonna show you.
No, but like I tried running a credit repair ad straight to to your phone number for credit repair,
Yeah,
and Google told me I wasn't allowed to. I couldn't do it because of their policy or some shit.
really?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe because I worded it the wrong way.
Oh, but you can't run credit repair in Google.
I can't.
Just coming
Stop that.
They stopped that.
Yeah.
We like to be filtered. We have to be a trusted partner that we know has good quality stuff. So the kinds of stuff that we filter out of them so well. that
Like, for
we
example,
don't have to mess with those conversions. Why are you just trying to numbers in for that?
So I have a friend, Pete, that being my friend does work, like, you know, come in, you got a flood, right? So then he added all this to the construction, so they'll put things back together, that makes it right now. But when he pays, like, $4,000 calls, in Vegas, and he missed the call, and he forwarded it to his wife, and the wife missed the call, she was drinking with me, I'd say, blame. But he was so pissed because they paid for a job for his call, like you just said, you know, he probably fucking buys calls for this guy. But yeah, he gets $800 for a water damage call because he makes his own insurance money, right? And he makes 5 to 10 grand.
That's straight up lead gen, bro.
And nobody's calling
That's everything.
for water damage unless you have water damage and you're ready to go. I don't give a shit. The insurance paid for it, gets my house.
I want to sell him the calls. I want to sell him the calls, but he only takes a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So, but look, for some of these calls, when you use a JavaScript tag, like this is called instant caller profile. So you get some, you know, you get all the information of the caller. So here you can see the caller first and last name. You also see their address, so where they're located. You can see alternative phone numbers that they have, right? You can also see the email. This is all from a phone call, right? So you can see the email, but it gets more interesting. You can see the gender, the estimated age, if they're a homeowner, single, married, children in the home, blah, blah, blah. The household income, what vehicle they have, their VIN number.
Their VIN number.
That's crazy.
Wait, what is that? That's just a pending? From just that.
There's a pending info in real time on the first frame.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so we have, you want me to hold the number and see what we can do? Yeah, all these numbers.
You guys are
Are you serious?
tried the credit repair, but I was on my account blocked.
No, I'm sorry, this number. This number. 832.
Oh, is that what happened?
Oh, geez,
Is that what happened?
No, yeah, no.
You cannot run
I was
credit
for business
repair.
verification. But I tried running the credit repair.
Sheriff,
I rejected on Google, and it rejected my And if it gets too many rejections, they block your account. But the business verification was set. That was just Google's policy of 2020, some shit by itself. That seems fun.
He's
calling.
You're going by Ford Taurus, you don't want to work
No, Larry's calling to see what Larry's info pops up on the screen.
Oh, my girlfriend's name was it from.
God,
I'm listening.
Can we,
Seriously,
put
funny,
some more, information on the team, we can pop over their accuracy?
That's what it's
Let's see what comes up.
Larry's gonna have to aliases coming up.
Let's see.
Someone's
We have
calling
a
you
good-
back.
Let's see, Larry, let's hear it.
You know you're gonna get calls from.
What do we got?
There's no information. No information.
Larry, Russian opportunity.
Yeah.
Larry, AGB.
That's why nothing pops up.
There's no information in you. Well,
Or you just battle.
Ghost, man. I guess I don't get paid like that.
It's because they didn't have technology in the
Bye.
I don't hear this.
2030. Yeah. Just let it ring one or twice. You're gonna get a call back, so don't answer. I don't want to charge you poor guy for that.
Who's that?
You reach out sexy girls.
I bet you runs ads for those guys.
Hey, Carlos, there's some privacy issues with having that information as to what you can do with it about.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Alyssa's listening.
Shit, on Facebook. Sorry.
Yeah, there it is. So T Anan, is it?
That's me.
So
Hey, okay. Not the address. Not the
that's your address?
What kind of cars you driving, Carlos?
Probably good. That's your email?
Is that a social?
Okay.
That's your VIN number?
That's that pin number?
You got your banking account number up there?
Shit.
Veterans, they got a vet that
You're a charity donor? Nice.
What do you,
Woman and pearl buyer, I don't know about that.
what do you say?
And Toyota Corolla,
That's the
Altima,
We sold that.
Honda
We
Accord.
sold that.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Oh, look, mortgage. Nice.
Nice.
Yes.
And the mortgage information.
So,
How much is he gonna call
You
it?
need to balance unless you're to a refi.
It may show the VA loan and everything. That's interesting.
yeah, Houston.
That's off of a phone number?
Property information.
That's crazy.
Land value.
Scary.
Improvement value, means some improvement. Property
Not
construction.
impressed. You know how much information
Property
you put on
deed.
Facebook? Come on.
What do you need?
Carlos, is that
That's good. That's good information, man.
That's a lot of privilege.
is that included in like their
Yeah,
basic
you
information?
know exactly what it is, what mortgage they got, like everything you market any home.
Is that included in their
What they're
services, or
writing?
you have to pay extra? Like,
A pen's data is 8 cents.
6 cents per.
That costs 8 cents to get that data?
Yeah.
When they.
You can generate this for 8 cents.
Sometimes they
even if you want.
email, when they call you the email and they give you the.
Impossible.
Not all that.
Yeah, so if you get a pen data, then you can find
We
it.
do business loan ads, we pay on this.
So wait.
247 call address.
They're gonna call you 2 times. Just don't answer. Please.
Property deed assessment?
Yeah, the property deed assessment.
Tell you what you ate for lunch?
Construction, information, location, everything.
Never call Carlos, I'm just saying.
Yeah, 5 guys for lunch.
So I told you're a veteran?
There you go.
Veteran is home, yeah, boom.
Damn.
So yeah, you get a lot of that.
That's my thing, now go get off the street, come on.
So there's social on there, yeah.
What is he doing this feature?
I'm working on an IVR that pretty much what it says is that, you know, this call is being recorded for business purposes, and then I'm adding the TCPA disclaimer in there. And you can only press one, and then press one, and then we can use that information for everything else, you know, mortgage refinance, home security, whatever. So I tell you, it's pretty scary because you will never think that much information about you is out there from a single phone call.
Where they pulling the information from, like the credit
A
bureaus?
whole bunch of different data sources.
And I'm telling you, pretty damn great.
Get it from the credit bureau.
It tells me if I had a mortgage, what type of mortgage I have, I read it.
So it's everything, the mortgage, everything, bro.
Yeah, you can.
You can send this tweet to a VA, somebody with a VA mortgage only, not even brought it down. If someone has an FHA, bring it down to that.
Yeah, you can set it.
Set it refi.
You can set a webhook and then use filters.
Oh, no.
And based on the filter.
I mean, these would be worth gold because now you know exactly which person is in the market for a VA refinance. Like, that's money.
So,
it's hard to find that.
When are you gonna implement?
I have to go to New York and sit down with Phil so he can tell me how to
15 minutes.
No, seriously, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, shit.
Right?
I just get calls, fuck it.
Hey, just call me. What do you want to talk about? That's our next act. Just call me. Just pick up calls today.
I don't know what number they got to this.
So when you call this number, you pretty know everything about you.
That's funny.
Guys, this wasn't my social. This was my phone number. That's scary. That's how much information you can give just off of someone's phone number.
Yeah. So that's why.
Probably more than your social, bro.
I'm changing my number.
That's not just a phone in your hand. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And you sold all the, you know, the vehicles were pretty accurate, right? Everything was accurate?
Yeah, it was.
Awesome. You owe me 80 cents.
Yay!
Alright, man. Any last questions?
How long will it take you to set me up?
Right.
Oh my God.
It will
You don't need to ask that because it's not just throwing all the things out there. We're like, where we go?
What you said?
How long it will take you to set it up? So what we're planning to do is integrating this with.
Yeah, we're basically combining. So we're actually gonna make a video on this right when he's done. Zach's gonna go. We're gonna make a video on kind of like what we're gonna do real quick. But yeah, basically in March we'll have it up and running.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll be one in return is for you to buy the vehicles, to buy calls.
Yeah, so I can buy most of your calls. It just depends on what industry you go into. Like for example, if you want to sell like, I don't know, something that I'm not in, then it's, I'll tell you sell it to somebody else. I will buy every single call that you generate. Yeah. Real estate, I'm not really into real estate.
For the credit repair, it just doesn't, I get, like, for me, I had to send it to my emails, and then click on the email, and then send it to the number.
Facebook. You can do a Facebook lead app.
Yeah.
You get the information, send a text message, let the person know.
Amazing. That.
But dude, I know, if you block the campaign, that's not starting with it. But I just don't want to try to call the flight campaign.
So it's very cool. Appreciate it.
How long since you guys started, met together, like?
First event, no?
How long have you been?
Yeah, we all went together.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what Zach said at the first event.
So that was how long, like?
That's March of 19. Yeah.
March of 19?
March of 19.
2 years ago. Where you were doing it?
I was doing it, but I was more into commerce. I was really into this type of thing, so like Phil opened my eyes to the lead gen and you know in general. What I was doing was very small local stuff, like working with like direct people. But I was like, forget that, I'm going nationwide.
Right.
Now there's 4 shows, like catch me if you can, you know.
you know, you can kind of look at him as an affiliate network with his campaigns he's running, but there's a ton of companies out there that will buy your calls, right? They're all over the place. So this is just, Carl is just someone that's willing to provide the knowledge of how he got started and how to do it, but there's plenty of buyers out there in every industry. Like that's, you just don't look at it like just what he does. I mean, it's massive. You know, how many companies are buying calls in all different verticals. The only reason why, like, he's doing just what he's doing and I do what I do, because we don't have the time. You know, he's not gonna go hire 20 people, I'm not gonna hire 20 people, we're just doing what we can do. There's so much more. It's funny, because when I first started doing lead gen, started making, my 6 figures in like the first couple months, I thought I was king of the world, right? Then I started meeting lead generators at conferences and stuff, and I felt so small.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these guys are making 10, 20 million a month, just a few people. It's crazy. There's a company called Fluid that I met. They sold actually. They were doing over 100 million a year doing co-reg leads. Which does anyone even know what a co-reg lead is?
Yeah, I know.
Right? Did you start? You did that? So a co-reg lead is really the worst lead you can possibly buy. It's like the go get a Walmart gift card and fill out the survey type lead, right? But they're so cheap, and if you have different offers on a montage, you can make a freaking killing. So this company called Fluid, they're out of New York, and they actually sold a company down here somewhere for a ton of money to a public company. But I met these guys when they first started, and they literally were generating they were going through the entire US like every few months, like literally 50 million leads a month, like stuff like that. It was insane. And they were just making pennies a lead, but hundreds of millions of leads. You know, you don't need it, right? You don't need to make much. So it's just absolutely nuts. So, and again, that's a different world, right? Co-registration leads are just a different world. Paper calls a different world. You know, I just live and breathe, and I did what, a 12 million now, and just in business. Just in business loan, that's all I've done. You know, so there's so many other verticals that you can do. So this is just the tip of the iceberg here, and what the potential is if you really want to get involved in the lead business. And I'm sure you guys see it. I mean, you think about it. Like I know guys who auto finance 3,000 leads a day, making $5 profit per lead. Right? Those same guys just launched bankruptcy. Actually, one of the biggest bankruptcies.
You're doing that every week.
They're doing thousands a day of bankruptcy now. Like they said, oh, let's say a bankruptcy. All you need is buyers, you know, but there's so many large buyers in every industry.
So how did you decide to say I want to do like plumbers, or you just tested like?
Yeah, so what happened is I had a client, a local client here, and he does water damage. So what I learned from him was that they also buy plumbing leads, because whenever, like, if your sink is overflowing and you have water all over your kitchen, you're going to call the plumber. You're not going to call the water damage company, because most people don't even know what a water damage company is. Right? So they buy those plumbing leads, and if it's a water damage, they will keep it. If it's a plumbing, they will send it to a plumbing company, right? So he's like, hey, generate me some plumbing leads. I'm like, all right. So I started generating plumbing leads, but he only can buy leads from South Florida. I'm like, man, this is not gonna work. So I went nationwide and started building my own plumbing networks. But you can go after anything, and I'm like a micro organism compared to some of these networks out there. They have trade shows and conferences dedicated to pay-per-call, right?
How big can you make this thing?
Man, like he said, I know guys that easily make 100 grand a day on pay-per-calls.
A day.
Yeah, a day. Yeah.
No, I heard you. I was talking.
Yeah. So you can make this as big as you want.
Yeah, there's space to run.
Yeah, there's think about it. Everybody here has a phone and everybody calls.
And you learned a lot from going to conferences and stuff like this, obviously.
I learned a lot, like going to conferences and then on my own. I'm the type of guy that you have to just show me, like you don't even have to show me, you just tell me, and then I'll do the research myself, and then I'll execute it like right away.
Give me the idea.
You figure it out. Yeah, you give me an idea,
whatever it is.
I'll figure it out. I mean, we had a couple cigars, and a few days later, I was sending them orders, left and right.
That's the craziest thing, right? We didn't even do any training. We just sat around and talked about the idea of doing something. And next week, he's sending me shit. I'm like, what the fuck? Because most people, they either just don't implement, they talk, think about it, whatever, or, they make up an excuse on why they can't do it, right? That's typically how it works. But few people, like him, he just took the knowledge and ran with it. He's like, I'm just gonna figure this out.
And just figure it out. You have to spend a lot of hours figuring it out. That's the initial investment. But after that, it's gonna pay yourself over and over.
It's like your math homework, man. You sit at home, you're sitting at dining room table, you're like, damn, how the hell do I do this? Do it tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'll do it, that's it.
I was the type of student that I used to do my homework right after class. That way I didn't have to do it later. Right? So as soon as I was done, in the next class, I would do my homework and then this is done. Next.
It's like my kid, my son does that.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's not that.
My son does not do that.
That's why my kid won't pay ever.
That's fine. Let's clean up this house.
Well, I hope that you found this useful and.
Yeah, call us.